Area's most prominent local high school football programs, Tiffany, in hot water tonight. 8 coaches on leave and the district now facing a lawsuit.
And this all started with the pepperoni pizza. Kelly Kennedy digging deeper into what went down and now the possible consequences.
That student's attorney tells me after he missed a practice because he hurt his shoulder, the high school junior was forced to eat an entire pepperoni pizza in front of his whole team, and that was a punishment. And as it turns out, this high school football player is Jewish and he keeps kosher. And his attorney tells me that all of his coaches knew that. A 17-year-old Canton McKinley High School football player is now undergoing psychological counseling. This following a punishment dealt out by his football coach, Marcus Watley.
It just crosses a line. It's on every level. It's just wrong.
Civil rights attorney Edward Gilbert is representing the high school junior who wants to remain anonymous.
It's common knowledge that this young man does not eat pork for religious reasons, and this was a pork pizza.
Gilbert says the student told the coach at least 5 times that he could not eat the pork because he and his family are members of the Israeli Jewish faith and they keep kosher. Eventually, the coach told him he could take the pepperoni off the pizza.
In his view, the whole pizza was spoiled, and he was ordered to eat that. If he did not eat it, then he would be most likely removed from the team, and the other teammates would have to do extra exercise that day. And so you have the whole team around in this gym. You have 8 coaches there yelling at him.
You believe that the coach ordered this student to eat this pizza knowing that this was against his religious faith? Do you feel like that was part of the punishment?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to order a pork pizza knowing that the kid doesn't eat pork, that's just beyond comprehension. It was a dumb thing to do. It was stupid. But, you know, that's what happens sometimes. But in today's society, you just don't allow that type of thing.
Gilbert tells me this young man is a star athlete, and even though he's only a junior, he's already been offered full rides to several colleges. Now his family is unsure if he'll return to McKinley High or its esteemed football program.
Their religion is being disrespected.
The school district did send 19 News a statement. It reads in part, the incident calls into question whether appropriate team management, discipline, and player accountability infrastructures are in place. We tried to reach out to head coach Marcus Watley for comment, but so far, we have not heard back. The district also told us they are nearing the completion of their investigation and they will be releasing more information soon. They also said they are unified in creating a safe and inclusive learning environment for all students. Reporting in Canton, Kelly Kennedy, 19 News.
Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha HaKodash, for giving the spiritual in this lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel consists of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Seminole, Native American Indians, of Negro and Indian descent according to the seed of the Father. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone, who still do well, who told me this truth. And peace to the nation of Israel once again. And what you just saw there was an incident that took place in a city near Cleveland. And you had the football coach forcing the Hebrew Israelite. When I first saw the story, a couple of days ago, they didn't mention that he was a Hebrew Israelite, that they said that the coach forced him to eat pork against his religious beliefs. But I already knew that he had to have been influenced by the truth, okay, the Hebrew Israelites, which the truth is that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay? That's the foundation of the truth, and Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, is coming back to save those people. Now, the reason why I read Ecclesiastes 1:9 is because the story is nothing but history repeating itself. Okay? Because this is what the Edomites have always done. They've always tried to force the pig, the pork, on us to make us go against our God. Because when we go against our God, they have access to prevail against us. This is Judith chapter 5 and 20. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, let's start at 17. Judith 5 and 17. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, meaning we fell into sin, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captive into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemy. So that's what happened when we departed from the way that was appointed unto us. Verse 19. But now are they returned to their God, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and they have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this against this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, meaning our destruction. If we sin against our power, this will be the destruction of our nation. And let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So that was the goal from this here football coach. Which, like I said, this is in Canton McKinley High School, which is about 40 minutes away from where I'm at right now. Now, this is nothing but history repeating itself. You had this history that took place, the same thing that took place in the book of 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. But the punishment was much more severe. The punishment for not eating the swine was not to be kicked off a football team, but it was to be tortured to death. 2 Maccabees 7 and 1, it says, it came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. So they were beaten and tormented with scourges and whips in order to be compelled to eat swine's flesh, which the word compels means to basically force, to urge very, very strongly, to threaten. That's what compel means. That's the word I'm looking for. It means to threaten. It says, verse 2, but one of them that spake first said, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our father. Right? So that young man, he ended up taking the pepperoni pizza off of the pizza, which the law tells us not to touch the pork at all. Don't even touch it. So he went off by touching it, and he went off by eating the pizza. He didn't stand stiffly for the name of Yahweh Shai. Our forefathers were ready to die rather than to eat some swine. They were ready to die. Let's read it again. It says 2 Maccabees 7 and 2, but one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? You're like, what do you think gonna come of this? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our father. So he should have been ready to die rather than to eat that swine, man. The scriptures say, let's go to Proverbs 24 and 10. It says, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. So that young man, that 17-year-old man, his strength is small, man, because he fainted in the form of adversity. In the face of adversity. His strength is small, man. His faith is small. He has to build up his faith, because if he can't even resist, if he can't even lose a football team for the Lord, let's get that. Let's think it's Mark 8 and 35, 34. It says, and when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself. Right? So he probably loved football, but you got to deny football. If the coaches want to suspend you, at the end of the day, it would have had the same outcome. I'm sure his family would have still had a legal, the coaches would have still got fired. A legal matter would have still been taking place. All he had to do was stand up for the Lord, man. The scriptures say, who shall separate us from the love of Hamashiach? Shall famine, tribulation, he should have fasted for the day, man. He should have told them, fuck you, fuck this football team, forget my position, excuse my language, man. Forget my scholarships or whatever, man. And the Lord still would have worked it out. Mark 8:34. And when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Right, so that was his cross, man. Now he was supposed to take up. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. See, he wanted to save his football career. He wanted to save his friendship with his team, his respect for his coach. You got to be willing to say, forget all of these things, man. You have to forsake all. Did not the disciples forsake all and follow him? So Mark 8:35, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, which is what his belief, the gospel, the same shall save it. You see? And now what he did was a low level of selling out, and that's how these celebrities, you got Kendrick Lamar, he proclaimed he was an Israelite, but he ain't said nothing about the Israelites since. He got shut up real quick. 2 Maccabees 7:2. But one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the law of our fathers. So you had to be willing to lay down your life, okay, for this. You got to be willing to do that. Peter told the Lord that he was ready to follow him unto death. You got to be willing to do that.
All right, Salaki. So as I was saying, man, you got to be willing to give up your life, for your Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because what is this life? This life is nothing compared to what's to come. 2 Maccabees 7:3. Then the king, being in a rage, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first. So you got to be willing to get your tongue cut out rather than to eat pork. Not saying that this is the way to salvation, but just showing a level of faith, okay, that our people had, knowing that something better was coming, knowing that a promise from the Most High was coming. Let's read that. Let's jump down. 2 Maccabees 7:8. And he answered in his own language and said, no. Wherefore, let's start at verse 7. It says, so when the first was dead after this, now these were 7 sons, okay? 7 sons of a woman that were all put to death. 7 is completion. In the 2 Maccabees 7 chapter, the 7th verse. So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? And he answered in his own language and said, no, which no in the Hebrew is la'ah. It says, wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. And when he was at the last gasp, he said, thou like a fury takest us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. And who is the King of the world? Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai. And the scriptures say, blessed are you when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake. So that young man should have remembered the scriptures, man. Like Brother Kadash say, remember your training. Remember are the things that we are being prepared for via the Holy Scriptures that comfort us. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 10, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Right, so he should have been like, yo, I'm obviously being persecuted. I'm obviously, my team is trying to separate me from their company, and he should have took that joyfully. The Lord said, whatsoever brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Luke chapter 6 and 22, blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, right? So he was going to get kicked off the team if he didn't eat the pizza. Well, kick me off the team then. Separate me from your company then. Blessed are ye when men shall, and this is why the Lord said, be not unequally yoked with the unbelievers. It says, blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, right, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. So going back to the article, this is Cleveland COVID-19.com, Ohio coaches allegedly forced Hebrew Israelite student to eat pork for missing practice. It says, I mean, it just crosses a line on every level. It's just wrong, said the family's attorney, Edward L. Gilbert. Coach Waitley Marcus and 7 assistant coaches forced the McKinley High School football player to eat pepperoni pizza after the 17-year-old student missed a weightlifting session on May 20th. What happened 4 days later as a punishment for missing the practice was traumatizing and disrespectful for the McKinley High School junior, who is Hebrew Israelite and keeps kosher. You see? So hey, this truth, and this is also a witness against these men, and against many people. This truth is covering the earth. This truth is covering the earth. Habakkuk 2:14, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. So this truth is doing nothing but spreading like wildfire, man. Just the fact that this is on the news and making mainstream news, this is also going to wake up more people. Showing you that we're at the end, because the book says in Matthew, the 24th chapter, in the 13th verse, it says, in the 14th verse, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So we at that time, man. I just wanted to bring out that quick edification, Lord, when this edifying call, Haloyim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, Tawadi HaBashim Yahweh Shai, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Kwam Yashua Allah, Shalom.